Okay, you guys. So, sit down for a second because what I'm about to walk you through is the most quietly savage move any rapper has pulled in the last 20 years, and I mean that with my whole chest. Y'all remember when everybody swore Kendrick Lamar was hiding? When every barbershop, every reaction channel, every pissed-off Drake stan was screaming that the man had gone missing? Well, baby, Kendrick Lamar was not hiding. He was in a room. And in that room, Kendrick just signed paperwork that has Drake reportedly losing his entire mind behind closed doors. I'm talking not upset, not annoyed, but boiling over. Because sources are saying one of the last big-name athletes Drake has been photographed with for a whole decade just walked past OVO on live television and picked the pgLang side of the room instead. And that athlete is not some role player, y'all. That is Steph Curry. So, take a deep breath and take a seat, because this ain't a beef. This is a takeover. And by the time I finish walking you through this, you're going to understand why every rapper in the game right now should be terrified of what he just built while everybody else was staring at Drake's Instagram stories. Now, before I get into it, let me set the scene, because a lot of y'all been asking me this same question in the comments for months. Where has Kendrick Lamar been? No interviews. No IG posts. No little Sunday brunch content. No paparazzi walks through Soho. No forced clout runs. Nothing. Meanwhile, on the other side of the equation, Drake is dropping albums like the man got a quota to hit. Drake is selling off pieces of his own catalog. Drake is on Instagram at 3 a.m. posting gym mirror selfies. Drake is out here doing everything except sitting still. And Drake's biggest fans, plus a whole army of blog culture vultures, tried to spin the silence like the Pulitzer winner was scared, or lazy, or falling off. Baby, they were wrong. Not a little wrong. Wrong the way people were wrong when they said the internet was a fad. Because while all them cameras were pointed at Drake, Kung Fu Kenny was in a boardroom with the NBA Players Association. And the deal he walked out of that room with is about to change the way rap money moves for the next 20 years. Now, listen to me carefully, because this is where it gets crazy. Kendrick Lamar and his business partner Dave Free, through their company Project 3 agency, just locked in a full partnership with the NBA Players Association. And before y'all skim past that sentence like it's just another sponsorship, no. This ain't a Sprite commercial. This ain't a needle drop over a highlight reel. This ain't Kendrick showing up in a Foot Locker ad. This is architecture, y'all. The NBA players are launching their own brand. Their own company. Built by them, owned by them, run by them, and designed to cut every middleman in a suit out of the money that they generate. The brand is called Players United, and it is a direct-to-consumer platform built so NBA athletes can finally own their products, own their image, and keep their money in their own pockets. And out of every ad agency in Manhattan, every consulting firm in Beverly Hills, every Madison Avenue vulture that could have chased this bag, the players walked past all of them, and in dead silence, they put the pgLang founder in the chair. Let that one land real slow. They picked Kendrick over billion-dollar agencies. That right there tells you exactly where the culture is heading. Okay, but hold on. Because before we go any further, I need y'all to catch this next part, because it is the piece that is making Drake reportedly not sleep at night. Who actually opened the door for Kendrick Lamar? Because a deal this big doesn't happen from a cold email, y'all. Deals like this happen off of trust, and trust has a name. And the name is Kyrie Irving. Yes, that Kyrie Irving. The same Kyrie Kendrick name-dropped on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. The same Kyrie who has spent his entire NBA career refusing to be a puppet for any league office, any broadcaster, or any storyline he didn't personally sign off on. And whispers are saying Kyrie Irving connected with Kendrick long before any of this hit the blogs. Kyrie Irving is the voice narrating the short film launching the entire partnership. And here's where it goes from a business story to a full cultural event, because that short film is not dropping on ESPN. It ain't premiering on TNT. It ain't showing up as some little pregame filler during All-Star Weekend. It is premiering at Cannes. Cannes. The film festival. The same red carpet where Scorsese premieres his movies, where Tarantino premieres his movies. That is where the NBA Players Association is launching Players United, with Kyrie Irving narrating and Kendrick Lamar and Dave Free directing the whole creative rollout. Baby, this ain't a basketball announcement. This is a cinematic ambush. Now, this is the part where the room gets uncomfortable, so pay attention. Because the short film features a roster of the most marketable NBA athletes on the planet right now. Stephen Curry, Jalen Brunson, Jaylen Brown, Karl Anthony Towns, Gabe Vincent, and a couple more names hip-hop is going to be forced to reckon with in the next few weeks. But out of all them names, one is standing there like a knife in Drake's back, and that is Stephen Curry. Because sources close to the situation are saying Drake is reportedly not okay with this. Not disappointed. Not politely bothered. Genuinely upset. Because Stephen Curry has spent a whole decade tucked into Drake's orbit. The OVO cameos, the courtside links, the Toronto to Warriors friendship, all them cute little Instagram tags. Stephen Curry was one of the last high-profile sports bridges Drake still had leverage over. And Stephen Curry just walked into a Kyrie Irving narrated, pgLang directed can premiere on the biggest stage possible. In front of the whole planet. In one coordinated drop. That ain't a business decision, y'all. That is a public verdict. In this culture, one photograph can outweigh 100 singles. One jersey can outweigh 100 features. And when Stephen Curry chose the pgLang canvas in front of the entire world, he was saying something out loud that the industry is not ready to print in a headline yet. Stephen Curry chose the builder over the performer. Stephen Curry chose the blueprint over the aesthetic. Stephen Curry chose Kendrick Lamar. And you better believe Drake noticed. Y'all remember how mad Cardi got when Latto did that little switch up? Multiply that energy by $1 billion and a whole league, and that's what Drake is reportedly feeling right now. But moving on, because I need y'all to see the full picture. Now, if you're just tuning in and this is your first time hearing about the Compton native in a business setting, let me put it in a way that will make sense in one sentence. Kendrick Lamar is quietly becoming this generation's Jay-Z, but with one major upgrade. Jay-Z built an empire, and nobody is taking that away from him. But the load-bearing beams of the Jay-Z empire, the touring deals, the management arm, the sports agency, all of that is still tied to giant corporate parents. Roc Nation is threaded through Live Nation. Tidal got tethered to Sprint and then folded into Square. Jay-Z had to play inside the machine to win. Kendrick Lamar didn't. pgLang and Project 3 Agency are not joint ventures. They are not licensing deals dressed up in pretty branding. They are not little subsidiaries hiding behind a friendly logo. They are fully owned. Fully independent. Fully self-contained. He and Dave Free do not work for the system. They are the system. And that is exactly why this NBA deal is hitting on a level most people still haven't processed. It is not the pgLang founder joining a corporation. It is a corporation, a whole players' union, walking up to him and asking for a seat at his table. Now let me pause and be fair to Drake for a second, because I know how y'all get in the comments. Drake is, by any metric you want to use, one of the most commercially successful rappers of his era. Nobody's snatching that away from him. Drake got the streams. Drake got the plaques. Drake got the trophies. But there is a difference between commercial success and cultural ownership, and Kung Fu Kenny just made the difference so painfully clear that even Drake's biggest defenders are struggling to spin it. Drake has the numbers. Kendrick has the structure. Drake has the trophies. Kendrick Lamar has the building the trophy case sits in. And as time keeps moving forward, the building always outlasts the trophies. That's not shade. That's arithmetic. But wait, because this is where it gets even crazier, and this is the part that made me have to pause my whole day when I read about it. Look at the visual language of this rollout. Because this is where you can really see the pgLang fingerprint pressed into the glass. The Ken film uses the same warm, dust-drenched, gold-tinted color palette he leaned into on GNX. The camera doesn't move the way a Nike commercial moves. There ain't no whip pans. There ain't no aggressive chop-cut edits. There ain't no Gatorade energy drink grammar. Instead, the visuals sit still. There are slow holds. There are wide shots that give the players room to breathe inside the frame. There is a deliberate refusal to talk down to the audience. If you have seen the Luther video with Kendrick Lamar and SZA, or if you have seen the Baby Keem visuals Kendrick and Dave Free directed together, then you already recognize the fingerprints on the glass. Same hand. Same eye. Same room. He is not lending his name to the NBA. He is stamping his DNA into the league's marketing bloodstream. That is a whole different level. And that's exactly why Drake is reportedly furious, y'all. Because Drake spent the last 10 years turning the NBA into his personal marketing pipeline. The courtside seats. The locker room walkthroughs. The after-party links. The music drops timed to the playoffs. That pipeline used to belong to Drake. And Kendrick walked into the building, didn't ask permission, didn't post about it, didn't tweet about it, didn't diss anybody, and quietly rerouted that pipeline straight into his own architecture. That's not a diss track. That's not a battle rap. That's a hostile takeover with a smile on its face. Now, feel the timing on this for a second, because timing is the invisible weapon Kendrick keeps using and nobody is talking about it. He did not drop this announcement on the eve of a Drake album. He did not tie the reveal to a viral clip. He dropped this into a clearing on the media calendar where nobody else was standing. Off-season NBA news cycle wide open. Ken generating its own press? Fashion media already circling. Sports writers hungry for a culturally big story. He walked this story into an empty corridor and let it echo. That is the move of an operator who studied the physics of media. That is the move of an executive who knows how influence compounds. Meanwhile, every rollout Drake has done in the last 18 months has been fighting for oxygen against something. Against his headline. Against his Grammy. Against his Super Bowl. Against his tour. Drake keeps screaming into a room where somebody else is already painting the walls. But listen to this next part, because this is the piece that's making rappers real quiet online. The Kyrie Irving connection is not random. Kyrie Irving is a thesis statement in sneakers. Kyrie Irving is the single most ideologically aligned NBA superstar the Compton native could have picked to bridge into professional basketball. Kyrie Irving owns his brand decisions. Kyrie Irving owns his media presence. Kyrie Irving owns his footwear line. Kyrie Irving is, inside the NBA, the closest mirror image to what Kendrick is inside hip-hop. So when Kyrie Irving pulls Steph Curry, and Jalen Brunson, and Jaylen Brown, and Karl Anthony Towns into the same frame together, what Kyrie Irving is really doing is handing Kendrick the one thing money cannot buy: locker room credibility. Locker room credibility is exactly what Drake has been trying to counterfeit for 15 years and never quite got. Because Drake was always the tourist. Never the resident. Kyrie Irving just turned him into a resident. And that is a permanent status upgrade. There ain't no press release that can undo that. Now, I want y'all to zoom out with me, because when the business schools sit down years from now to teach the case study of how professional athletes finally seized the economic controls of their own labor in this decade, they are not going to be writing chapters about who had the catchier single in 2024. Baby, they are going to be diagramming the room where Kendrick, Dave Free, Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry, and the NBA Players Association sat down and agreed to build a direct-to-consumer economy together. They are going to be studying Project 3 agency. They are going to be reverse engineering pgLang. They are going to be tracing exactly how the Pulitzer winner turned down every offer from every legacy institution and built his own institution instead. And the rappers who signed away their whole publishing catalogs while he was building this? They are going to be the footnotes. Not the headlines. The footnotes. Now, let's talk about something the mainstream coverage keeps skipping. Because here's the truth nobody at OVO is ready to say into a live microphone. Most rappers are not built to walk this same road behind him. Most rappers want the chain over the catalog. Most rappers want the feature over the ownership stake. Most rappers want the splash over the spreadsheet. Most rappers want the flash of the moment over the boring long game of the decade. So the pgLang founder looked around at the whole genre, saw the comfort, saw the label dependency, saw the same recycled marketing playbook stapled to every rollout, and he walked away. He walked straight into the NBA locker rooms, where the athletes are actually starving for autonomy. Where the athletes are actually hungry for ownership. Where the athletes actually want to build something that outlives the contract on their back. If hip-hop refuses to follow him into this new frontier, then the athletes will. If rappers won't take the risk, the ballplayers will. If the genre wants to stay stuck refereeing a 2014 argument, the league will drag the next decade forward without hip-hop's blessing. That is the signal he just sent up over the whole industry. And every rapper signing a 360 deal with a major label right now should be shaking, because he just redrew the entire map of what is possible. Now, y'all remember how I said earlier that Drake got a whole team of people whispering in his ear right now? Sources are saying he is genuinely rattled. Not performative rattled. Genuinely rattled. And you know what, I get it. Because think about it from Drake's angle for a second. Drake wakes up every morning and he has to feed the algorithm. Drake has to post. Drake has to drop. Drake has to remind the internet that he still exists. That's a treadmill. A treadmill that only runs if Drake keeps running on it. Meanwhile, Kendrick wakes up and pgLang is running. Project 3 agency is running. The NBA Players Association is now attached to his ownership blueprint. That is a turbine. A turbine that runs whether he is in a studio, on a stage, or on a beach somewhere off-grid. Do y'all see the difference? A treadmill demands you feed it. A turbine feeds itself. A turbine enriches its owner while its owner is sleeping. He is no longer running a career. He is running an empire. Drake, respectfully, is still running a job. But circle back with me, because I need to say this out loud. This stopped being a rap beef the second Steph and Curry crossed that room. This is a philosophy war now. This is a blueprint war. This is a straight-up fight between two completely opposite definitions of what a hip-hop artist in 2026 is even supposed to be. In one version, the artist is a paid brand consultant for the corporations that already own the ground. In the other version, the artist owns the ground and rents it back to the corporations. The Compton native ain't running the first version. Drake is. And every day that Drake spends chasing the feed, Kendrick Lamar is spending buying another piece of the actual building. Y'all had better let that sink in. Now, here's a question I want y'all to sit with for a minute. What does the NBA Players Association actually represent, y'all? Because this is a piece a lot of the coverage is glossing right over. The NBA Players Association is the union. That is the collective voice of every superstar, every veteran, every rookie, and every role player under contract in the league. That is where labor power in professional sports gathers into one single fist. And that room, that union, just decided that the creative partner most aligned with their interests is him. Not a sports marketing firm. Not a major label. Not a global holding company. Him. That is a signal visible from every locker room on the planet. The NFL is watching. Major League Baseball is watching. The WNBA is watching. The Premier League is watching. UFC is watching. Formula One is watching. Every player union on earth is watching. And the next time one of them decides to launch a direct-to-consumer brand? Whose phone rings first? His phone. Dave Free's phone. pgLang's phone. Project 3 agency's phone. That is what a turbine looks like when it starts spinning. It doesn't stop. Now, I know some of y'all in the comments are gonna say, but Drake still got the streams. Baby, I already told you. Streams are a treadmill number. Streams don't build a building. Streams don't own a union. Streams don't premiere at Cannes. Streams don't put a rapper in a room with the most powerful union in professional sports on the entire planet. The pgLang founder is out here doing what Puffy tried to do without the corporate parent. What Master P tried to do without the distribution ceiling. What Jay-Z did but had to compromise on. He is running the No Limit Blueprint, the Rockefeller Blueprint, and the Dreamville Blueprint, all stitched together, but stripped of every corporate handcuff any of those artists ever had to sign. Take Jay-Z's business intelligence. Add Kanye West's creative ambition. Subtract Kanye's chaos. Subtract Jay-Z's corporate leash. Subtract every compromise either of them ever had to sign to walk through a boardroom door. What is left, distilled and quietly weaponized, is Kendrick Lamar. And that is the version of a hip-hop mogul Drake has no counter for. No diss for. No album for. No press cycle for. But hold on, because I ain't even hit y'all with the part that makes this whole thing lock into place. There's a quote coming out of the room that tells you the whole story. It says, quote, "If you think about any artist who is authentically himself and goes directly to his fans, no one does it better than Kendrick Lamar." Now, y'all don't gloss past that like it's some little throwaway compliment. Because that ain't a compliment. That is a blueprint endorsement from the most powerful players' union in sports. The players didn't want a face. The players didn't want a jingle. The players wanted a model they could study, take apart, and rebuild inside their own ecosystem. And the model they picked, out of every operator alive on Earth right now, was Kendrick. That is the sentence that should be tattooed on every young rapper's forehead when they walk into their next label meeting. Now let me bring y'all back to Drake for one more second, because I know how the comment section is gonna be. What is Drake supposed to do about this? Drop another diss? A diss for what? Kendrick didn't diss him. He didn't tweet. He didn't sub. He just signed paperwork. What are you gonna diss? The paperwork. You gonna diss a union? You gonna diss the NBA Players Association? You gonna diss Can? You gonna diss Stephen Curry? You gonna diss Kyrie Irving? What are you gonna do, Drake? That's the trap. The pgLang founder built the trap so airtight that any response Drake gives is gonna look small next to a whole players' union. If Drake drops a song, it looks petty against a business empire. If Drake stays silent, it looks like defeat. If Drake tries to counter-signal with his own athletes, he has to admit publicly he's competing on a board he already lost. There is no clean exit for Drake here. And every night the pgLang founder sleeps on it, that trap only tightens up. And I want y'all to notice one more thing that nobody in the coverage is properly saying out loud. This deal is not just changing the NBA. This deal is changing the way athletes look at every rapper that walks up to them. Because now, when a rapper slides into an athlete's DMs, the athlete has a benchmark. The athlete is going to say, okay, cool, you want to do a song, you want to do a shoot, you want to do a cosign, but what do you actually own? What are you actually bringing to my ecosystem? What is your equity structure? What is your ownership blueprint? Before Kendrick, most athletes didn't even know to ask them questions. After Kendrick, that question is going to be the first line of the conversation. And that is going to embarrass a lot of rappers, y'all. A lot. Because most of them can't answer it. So let me tie this whole thing together in a bow, because I want y'all locked in for the ending. Kendrick Lamar did not disappear. He did not go silent because he lost. He went silent because he was building something Drake has no functional counter for. With all the money in the world. With all the streams. With all the platforms. With all the reach. He did not need a diss track for this round. He let the paperwork carry the message. He let Kyrie Irving carry the message. He let Dave Free, and Project 3 Agency, and pgLang, and Can, and the NBA Players Association carry the message. And while Drake is still trying to win the next 24-hour news cycle, Kendrick is winning the next 20 years. Let that one sit on your chest for a minute. This ain't beef anymore, y'all. This is a hostile takeover in slow motion, dressed in a boardroom suit. And the only people still pretending otherwise are the ones out here trying to sell y'all the fairy tale that a streaming chart equals a legacy. It doesn't. It never did. And Kendrick just proved it in public with the entire NBA Players Association standing behind him like a wall of protection. Now, before I let y'all go, I want to know how y'all feel about all of this. Because this is one of them stories where I genuinely want to see the split in the comments. Do y'all think Kendrick Lamar has officially outrun Drake for good after this NBA move? Or do y'all think Drake is sitting on some kind of response we cannot see coming yet? Because there is a real argument in the room right now that Drake now has to answer with something bigger than a song, and none of us really know what that would even look like. Y'all drop it down in the comments below. I want the OVO side, I want the pgLang side, I want everybody's honest take. And while you're doing that, let me know if you want me to break down the pgLang business structure piece by piece in a follow-up video, because there is a whole lot more happening under the hood of that company than the blogs are catching. But that's all I have for you today, and I'll talk to you later.